All right, hello students. We're going to do a short recap on what we're doing with our pop art food projects. So, starting off, we talked about creativity process. This was on your table tent. Creativity process explains how you're going to move through and create your project. We talked about how you can move through different parts of that process. We also talked about how to move through higher levels of creativity. This is also on your table tent. We focused on moving to level 3 and 4 of that creativity level and placing importance on that. We talked about developing ideas in your sketchbook. So we have ideas. This explains what you're doing, how you're doing that, and then we talked about adding some color to those ideas so we would understand that we were glazing those ideas later with color. We also talked about creating a small model. This model could have been built solid, but was then hollowed out a little bit like that. Here's some other examples of models. We wanted the model to be a complete idea, even if it wasn't perfect. That's fine. Then we wanted this model to serve as a glaze tester. We wanted to do experiments with glazing. These didn't have to be perfect. They had to show that you were experimenting with glazing and your general idea. You were keeping track and documenting the glaze numbers. After that, we were kind of reiterating what it looks like to bring level 4 into your piece. So we talked about things like adding patterns, adding designs, considering design principles. We had a formative assessment. Yours might have been yellow or green. We talked about level 3, 4, and design principles. We had other students look at your work. What can you do to be more creative? We were being positive here, meaning constructive. No one wants to hear their work is bad or their ideas are bad. We want to be constructive with each other and helpful. As we move through the projects, we want to understand that we are building items for the large project, which will be 12 to 14 inches, possibly one piece that's 12 to 14, possibly 3 pieces that add up. You need about 3 objects. 3 is a great number. You could have more. You're keeping your stuff wet with damp towels and you're wrapping it in plastic. You're labeling your work so no one touches yours and your work doesn't dry out. Hence the plastic and the paper towels. You are coil building and then blending these coils, just like our original demo. The reason we're coil building is so that your pieces reach a higher skill level than if they were just solid. So for one, we don't want 100 students using a giant block of clay. That takes up a lot of clay. 2, we want you to understand how to use a higher level building technique for high school so that you can create even larger things at higher level classes and that you understand how to do that. Next, we want to consider our details for the project. This one is a really good example. We have this basic box radio sort of thing, and then here, great example of carving and detail to really liven this up. So maybe my skill level and my ideas show a bit of level 3, 4. My skill levels are increasing and I'm sharpening up my work as it dries. Some of you are finding that it's hard to get sharper edges and sharpen your text and words up until your project dries a little bit. And we mean leather hard, sort of in between wet and dry. Once our projects get to what we call bone dry, which is sort of lighter color for your clay, we don't really want to work on them, don't want to chip at them, and we want to be careful because they're going to break a lot easier. As we work, we want to consider, again, the level 4, using different fonts. If I'm making a Gatorade bottle, we want to be more creative. We're using this to kind of field test ideas. Maybe it could be a different letter. Maybe if I have something like McDonald's, I can come up with a different name. A Coke bottle, something like that. Why would I want to just say it's Coca-Cola? We've all seen that. We want to push and learn how to develop creativity and creative ideas. That's one of the main goals. As we work towards our rubric, your rubric will show you're basically concerned about the highest level on developing skills and thinking creatively. We will read through this rubric together in class I don't have to read it here. And we'll talk about exactly what we're looking for so that as you finish your project, you know where you're at and you have a sense of what grade you'll be getting on the main project. You'll have a due date grade that will be just before this fall break. Your project will be done drying out of the bag for your 10-point due date grade, which is your first basically large grade to say that you've completed a project, a large project. And you cannot get those points back. We need your projects to dry over the break so we can fire them after we get back. So please make sure, done drying out of the bag. If you can't do that, you're nuts.